Good evening, professionals. In our seventh corporate law webinar series on SEBI LODR, we've been discussing about the SEBI LODR provisions. Till last week, we have completed the principles and obligation of listed entities, the disclosure obligations, and the comparison as to why we have this LODR in place of listing agreement, making the provisions with more obligation on the listed entities and making stringent norms for listed entities to have severe penalty and fine imposed with strictures if there is going to be any non-compliance with regard to obligations and disclosure norms. And then we discussed about the obligation of compliance officer, obligation of listed entities, obligation of independent directors, various stakeholders, including your promoters, KMPs, senior management of the listed entity. We also studied the disclosure of material events and financial results, annual report contents of a listed entity, the framework as to what are the annexures to be forming part of your annual report, along with various schedules and the various functional website and how it has to be presented in the website of your company. And we completed till regulation 48 in the previous webinar. Today, we are going to discuss about chapter 5 of LODR. Chapter 4 is with regard to specified securities, where you have equity and other convertible instruments, which is your convertible preference shares and your convertible debentures. And today, we are going to discuss about chapter 5, fairly simple provision to understand, not that complicated as your equity instruments are as provided in chapter 4. Here it is quite simple provision. Only you have to comply with your financial results, that too half yearly financial results in the place of quarterly financial results, which you generally have in the case of equity instruments. And we are going to begin with regulation 49 and we will complete with regulation 55. Thank you very much, friends. My sincere thanks to Aishwarya for this detailed presentation. She has also made an attempt to provide a recent case law on the subject, and these are various legends used in today's presentation. This is the agenda for today's presentation, where we are going to discuss about the application of chapter 5, where it is applicable, for what kind of instruments you are going to apply this particular rule, and then those three events where prior intimation to stock exchange will be pertinent, and the number of days before which you have to make such event or intimation to stock exchange. And then we are going to discuss about the disclosure of information having price sensitive information or something which has a bearing on the performance or operation of the listed entity, the financial results, which is quite similar to regulation 33, which we have already discussed. Annual report, what are the contents and what are the annexures to your annual report as far as NCDs, non-convertible debentures, or NCRPS, non-convertible redeemable preference shares. And what is the asset cover maintenance which I have? What is asset cover maintenance? When you issue debentures, debentures are debt instrument because you're going to receive money and you owe money to all the debenture holders, which means you have to repay to them the principal amount, and you also need to make payment of the interest component on a periodical basis as agreed in your information memorandum, which is your prospectus inviting this particular issuance. And what is the guarantee that you are going to secure that amount, because you owe money, and how you will make repayment to them? To honor the repayment obligation, there should be an asset cover, which is nothing but your instrument should be backed by an asset, so that the debenture holder or investor will rely on investing in your security. We are going to see one recent case law. What if you don't comply with these regulations? Though they are fairly simple, if you don't comply, then you have to certainly pay the penalty as imposed by SEBI, which is what in the recent case law as ordered by SEBI adjudication order. And the credit rating, how frequently the credit rating has to be reviewed. Why do you have this review of credit rating? because as mentioned, it is a debt instrument. So your debt instrument should have necessary asset banking and should also have necessary credit guarantee for you to make repayment of your principal or make frequent payment of your interest obligation in the case of debenture or dividend in case of preference shares. So with this brief background, let's get into today's presentation, friends. Applicability. So for any regulation, applicability has serious importance. So to which instrument this particular chapter is applicable? To a listed entity which has listed its NCDs or NCRPS on a recognized stock exchange, you have this particular chapter applicable. So the regulation as far as issue and listing of debt securities regulation 2008 or SEBI issue and listing of NCRPS regulation 2013. So these two are the applicable chapters, and the chapter which is applicable will also be squarely relating to your PDIs, your perpetual debt instruments. So PDIs are again those instruments which are unsecured in nature, and as the name goes, the nature of this particular debt instrument debenture is perpetual, and perpetual NCPS, which is your perpetual non-cumulative preferences. Why do you call it non-cumulative, friends? Non-cumulative derives its origin from the dividend payment. So when your dividend payment is going to be cumulative, which means arrears of dividend. This year, I owe my shareholders a dividend payment of 10%, which means if the amount, the dividend commitment for my shareholders, preference shareholders is 1 lakh, but I don't have necessary cash surplus. I accumulated, the arrears on dividend will be paid in the next year. But when it comes to non-cumulative, which means this arrears on preference dividend cannot be accumulated, and every year I owe them the money and I have to, like your interest which is being paid to your debenture holders, your dividend with regard to your preference shareholders should also be necessarily paid, which cannot be accumulated. And banks for this particular chapter means all the scheduled banks as referred in your second schedule to RBI Act. For any listed entity which has listed its NCRPS, interest component refers to dividend, and of course for preference shares you will not have debenture trustees. Who are debenture trustees, friends? Like for your security, you have this DPs who are your custodians. Like that, for your debentures, you have a trustee, debenture trustee, who acts in the interest of debenture holders so that their particular repayment of your principal amount or payment of interest as and when the interval arises, be it quarterly or annual as the case may be, they secure that particular payment to your debenture holders. They protect the interest basically. And security creation. So security creation we have already discussed. So these provisions are certainly guaranteed for debenture holders, and it is certainly not applicable to your preference shareholders because it is not a debt instrument. It is an equity instrument. And hence they say this particular component of debenture trustee or security creation will not apply in the case of NCRPS. 50 talks about your prior intimations. We are going to see the event and the timeline for the event. So when you are making a payment on interest on the debentures or dividend for your preference shares, at least 11 days before such date you have to declare, which means if I am going to declare dividend on 1st of August, then go backwards at least 11 working days, which means on or before 15th of July, because you are taking another 15 days, including the Saturday, Sunday into consideration. Prior to that particular date, you have to certainly make a disclosure to stock exchange with regard to the intimation on interest payment to your debenture holders and dividend payment to your preference shareholders. So please compute your target date backwards and consider 11 working days, considering the T date to be 1st of August. And if suppose on 1st of August, I'm going to have a board meeting and I'm going to have this proposal recommended by the board for raising funds by way of issuance of CCPS which is your compulsorily convertible preference share, or to raise PDI, which is your perpetual debt instrument, then prior to such issuance or prior to this proposal being discussed in your board meeting, please inform stock exchange. Here, please note, friends, 11 working days or 2 working days is not specified. The number of days is silent, and hence at least 2 working days before, on a conservative basis, please intimate stock exchange that you are going to consider this proposal in the board meeting. And if there is going to be a board meeting, which is the third event, for recommendation or declaration with regard to your issue of NCDs or any other matter affecting the rights or interest of holders of NCDs, which means if there is going to be any variation in the class of rights of these debenture holders, or if there is going to be any interest variation, say for example, I had already declared in my information memorandum that the interest rate is 12%. But considering this COVID or other pandemic situation and considering the inflation and other market gimmicks, if I'm going to have a difference in the rate which is being declared and affecting the holders of these debenture holders, then the board meeting in which that proposal is going to be recommended by the board, please at least 2 working days before that particular board meeting intimate the stock exchange. So these are prior event intimation to stock exchange. Then comes your disclosure of information having a bearing on the performance or operation of listed entity or the price sensitive information which you have to inform stock exchange. So all these 3 events, one, any information which has a bearing on the performance or operation of listed entity, which means if you are going for any merger, amalgamation, or capital, any other capital restructuring, or any price sensitive information, by virtue of SEBI insider trading regulation, we already know that certain events should be considered as price sensitive information. What are they? When it is going to be your declaration or recommendation of dividend, or when you're going to accrue the financial results because it has a financial bearing, or when there is going to be any corporate action including your issuance of bonus shares or right shares. So all these price sensitive information, when you are going to discuss those proposals, then you shall certainly promptly inform the stock exchange. The explanation to this particular regulation also defines what is promptly, which means before you let the third party aware of this particular information, please make the stock exchange aware of that particular vital information is the message conveyed in regulation 51. And apart from that, part B of schedule 3 clearly describes the events which have to be considered for the purpose of prompt information. What are they? Any default and timely payment of your interest or dividend, interest with regard to your debenture holders or dividend with regard to your preference shareholders, or any attachment or prohibitory order restraining the transfer. Suppose I have a court order which restrains that particular transfer of the debentures to any other person, then it is necessary that I should keep the stock exchange informed of that court order, because they will be aware of those orders where the transfer from one debenture holder to other debenture holder is restricted by virtue of this particular jurisdictional order, or when there is any cancellation, conversion, redemption, retirement of your preference shareholders, or any action that adversely affects the payment of interest on NCDs. Suppose the interest due date for my debenture holders is 15th. Because of this COVID, I have a financial crisis, and hence I am delaying the interest payment for want of money, because I'm expecting some external approval of funds and I'm delaying it. So here, prompt information to stock exchange for shifting the due date from 15th to the next date, whatever is determined by the listed entity, is certainly an obligation of the entity to inform stock exchange. Or when there is any change in the form or nature of the debenture holder, suppose it is a subordinated debt instrument, I am converting that particular nature of the debt instrument to PDI, perpetual debt instrument, or I am converting the nature from unsecured to secured, or vice versa. In that event also, there is a change in the nature or form of that particular debenture holder that necessitates prompt information to stock exchange. Or when there is any change in the general character or nature of business activities, I am doing IT blockchain technology model, I want to enlarge my scope to other areas, to artificial intelligence, robotics, to all those additional areas in which even I certainly owe an explanation to stock exchange by prompt information. Or there is a force majeure clause which is invoked due to natural calamity. Please inform stock exchange promptly. Or when there is a commencement of commercial operation. I have just formed a company and I received RBI license for doing financial activity as NBFC. So when I am going to commence the business, while I intimate RBI, I have to necessarily intimate stock exchange by way of prompt notification if I am a listed entity. In the case of strikes or lockout, better disclose. Or if there is any letter exchange or comment to debenture trustees, as mentioned earlier, they are protecting the interests of the debenture holders, and any such communication better make intimation to stock exchange as well. And with regard to any default in payment of your interest, or be it your dividend or your principal amount or repayment term, make intimation of a period of more than 3 months from the due date. So a gap of 3 months before the due date, necessary intimation or reporting shall certainly be made. And any failure to create charge on the assets within the stipulated time period, if you are not able to create necessary asset backing, please make necessary information. Or if there is any revision in rating, as discussed in the equity instrument, if I have A plus plus and I am getting another rating from the credit rating agency as B plus, if there is going to be any upward rating or downward rating, better intimate stock exchange. Or if with regard to any change in the composition of the board of directors, which amounts to change in control, we have already discussed that change in control with regard to SAST, that is your SEBI substantial acquisition and takeover regulation. If that is getting triggered because there is significant influence or control and there is going to be any important policy making or decision making and you are squarely falling within the definition of takeover regulation, please make necessary reporting to stock exchange. All the communication relating to NCDs, NCRPS, which you are going to do with your debenture holders or preference shareholders, make a copy to your stock exchange. Or any information or any right affecting these particular debenture holders or preference holders which is not in the public domain, make an intimation to stock exchange. And if board is going to consider items relating to passing any interest payment or any short particulars with regard to your increase in capital by way of bonus issue or rights issue or any other mode of issue, be it your QIP, also make prompt intimation to stock exchange. So these are as specified in part B of schedule 3 as set out in regulation 51. Let's move on to regulation 52, which is your financial result. Most of the provisions are as provided in regulation 33 with regard to your audit report. You should attach the statement on impact on audit qualification when there is modified opinion, and if there is going to be no qualification or adverse remark or comments in your auditor's report, then a declaration should also be substantiated stating that the company has a clean auditor's report. There are no observations or comments or adverse remarks as observed by the auditors, and we have already discussed about the format of this SIA while we discussed about regulation 33. So the same format as prescribed by the board will fairly apply to regulation 52 as well, but the significant change as compared to regulation 33 will be there it is quarterly, here it is a half yearly financial results, friends. So listed entity shall submit unaudited or audited financial results on a half yearly basis within 45 days from the end of half year. And effective 7th May 2019, if listed entity has listed its equity and debentures on a stock exchange, a copy of the financial results as set out in regulation 52 shall also be submitted to the debenture trustee on the same day while they make this information disseminated to the stock exchange. And unaudited results along with your limited review report shall also be annexed thereto. And in case of public sector undertakings, it shall be prepared by a chartered accountant and format is as prescribed by the board. And in the case of audited financial results, if you're going to make advance intimation to stock exchange that I'm not interested in submitting unaudited and then followed by audited result, instead I'll submit audited financial results, you may do so provided one, you intimate stock exchange in advance that you're not interested in submitting two reports, one unaudited result for the half year ended, that is for 31st March. Then second condition is you have to submit this audited financial result within 60 days. When it is unaudited, it is 45 days, and in another 15 days, why to again submit another audited result? Rather, I'll intimate stock exchange and submit one single report, which will be your audited financial result. So for any listed entity, coming under chapter 5 of LODR, which means they don't have equity listed, they have only NCDs or CRPS listed. There will be only two financial results submitted, one unaudited for the half year ended 30th September and two audited financial results for the half year and year ended 31st March. If they are going to exercise the option that they will do audited results only, and for first report it shall be on or before 45 days from the end of half year, and in the case of 31st March, it shall be on or before 31st May, considering the financial year to be April to March. Half yearly result shall be signed by the managing director or any executive director of the company, and it shall be necessarily considered and recommended by the board of directors. If you have audit committee, let the audit committee consider and then pass it on to board, and the board recommend and take it on record for disseminating to stock exchanges. And audited results shall be submitted in the same format as is applicable for the half year. And we already discussed that if it is going to be annual audited results, instead of your limited review report, it shall be backed by your auditor's report. And in the case of modified opinion in the audited report, which has a bearing on the interest payment or the dividend payment pertaining to your NCDs or NCRPS, it shall be adequately addressed by the board while publishing the accounts, because you have a modified opinion or qualified opinion. So audited results plus auditor's report plus your SIA, statement on impact on audit qualification, if there is modified opinion, and where there is no modified opinion or qualification, then you will have audited financial results plus auditor's report plus declaration stating that your company has no qualified observations, and it shall be in the format as specified by the board. And 52.4, very important provision, friends. In your financial results, you will also attach the particulars as per the format prescribed, and Aditya Birla Housing having raised the non-convertible debentures. These are the disclosures and these are the norm prescribed as per 52.4 of LODR. Credit rating and change in the credit rating. Asset cover in case of non-convertible debt securities 2.87 times means you have an asset backup of 2.87 times as the amount raised by way of issue of debentures, which means you have necessary asset protection to safeguard the repayment of your debenture holders. Debt equity ratio is 9.61. And what was the previous due date for payment of interest, or what is the next due date with regard to payment of interest or debentures? If it is going to be preferential, what is the next due date with regard to dividend payment or principal when it comes to full payment? You have to mention the previous due date and the next due date. Interest service coverage ratio, debt service coverage ratio, CRR, DRR, net worth, PBT, PAT, EPS. So all these details you have to additionally provide. Of course, exemption is provided to banks, NBFCs registered with RBI, and any other unsecured debt instrument which is issued by a regulated financial sector entity. What is a regulated financial sector entity, friends? Those entities which, for banks it is RBI, for capital market it is SEBI, for insurance it is IRDA, for pension fund it is pension PFRDA. So all these are financial sector entities which regulate and govern the necessary segments like your insurance, pension fund, as the case may be. For commodities market, again you have FMC, forward market commission. So for these financial sector regulated entities, the particular disclosure norm is not applicable. which means for all other entities, the 52.4, the parameters as set out shall certainly be annexed to your financial results. Over and above that, 52.5 says your debenture trustee shall confirm that they have taken note of the contents as provided in your regulation 52.4. This is one of the format, friends, where this debenture trustee, catalyst trustees have confirmed that they have received the parameters as set out in 52.4 and they have taken note of the contents, and this particular certificate is issued pursuant to regulation 52.5. Any questions, friends? I'll be glad to take on the subject. Listed entity which has listed its NCRPS shall disclose the following in the notes to financials. Profit for the half year on cumulative profit for the whole year. Free reserves. Free reserves means the reserves which are not set apart for any specific purpose, which are freely available for the purpose of distribution of dividend, which means your CRR or your statutory reserve or your debenture redemption or set apart for any specific purpose, and hence they will not fall within the purview of your free reserves, which we are well aware of. Your securities premium account balance, your dividend payment track record, and if there is going to be any breach of covenants or obligations, you may have to state those as well. On a half year basis, if there is going to be any significant material deviation with regard to the use of proceeds of NCDs or NCRPS. What does it mean? In the object of the issue, in my information memorandum, I say that I am issuing the debentures for the growth requirement or for some project in Gumdipundi. I'm going to set up a plan. For that purpose only, I have issued the debenture, but I am delaying the project. I'm not setting up a plant in Gumdipundi. Do I owe an explanation? Yes. On a half-yearly basis, if there are going to be any material deviation, please make a disclosure. If there is going to be deviation from the objects for which the proceeds were agreed to be raised. Within 2 calendar days from the conclusion of the board meeting, the financial results shall be published in one English newspaper and in a daily newspaper circulating in the whole or substantially the whole of the place where the register office of the LE is situated. Your annual report shall certainly contain the necessary disclosures as specified in Companies Act, which means your 134 section, together with the disclosures if the company has the listed NCDs or NCRPS. Your financial statements, cash flow statement, auditor's report, director's report, notes forming part of your financial statements, name of the debenture trustee when it comes to debentures, and related party disclosure. Related party disclosure we have already discussed during our chapter 4 regulation. Just a quick recap. With regard to your holding company, subsidiary company, or your holding company, the loans and the investments which you have contributed, or loans or guarantees or advances made to the subsidiary or associate companies, and disclosure with regard to any transaction with your promoter or promoter group holding where it exceeds 10% or more of the shareholding. Of course, your disclosure with regard to the interest of your directors is as set out in your section 184 of Companies Act. Again, a quick recap of 184 is you have to make necessary disclosure at the first board meeting and at every board meeting after the first meeting in which particular change happens to the director. Suppose I make a disclosure to the board that I am holding interest in these companies, 5 companies, and later I have additional directorship in 6th company, then I certainly owe an obligation to the company to disclose that I am additionally inducted in this particular company, and if there is going to be any change in the shareholding attributing to more than 2%, or if there is going to be any interest in a firm, entity, or where I am a partner, owner, or member, I shall certainly disclose such interest and I shall abstain from voting or participating as far as section 184 is concerned. So all these related party disclosures shall necessarily be made in your annual report. Regulation 54 talks about your asset cover. For the listed entities, they shall necessarily maintain asset cover of 100%, which means I am raising debenture issue for 100 crores in my company, which means equal 100% asset cover shall be maintained to discharge the principal amount at all times, which means if tomorrow I have an obligation to make the payment of the debenture, the principal amount, I should certainly have necessary asset backup to release this particular loan amount, because this is my debt obligation as far as the debenture issue is concerned. This is not applicable where it is going to be an unsecured debt instrument issued by regulated financial sector entity. We already discussed as to which are those entities which are governed by regulated financial sectors. Why this asset cover is not mandatory for them? Because they are already governed by set of regulators, and they will certainly ensure that the debenture holders are not left bankrupt and they are not made insolvent, and they will certainly be guaranteed of their amount, and hence the regulators will take care of that particular ambit and no dual regulator to intervene, and hence this 100% asset cover is applicable only for other entities. And listed entities shall disclose to the stock exchange on a periodical basis the extent and nature of security created. That's why if you notice, the financial results has additional obligation to disclose about the asset cover maintenance. How many times of asset cover do you have as attributed to your amount of issue of debenture? This is a very recent case law, friends. SEBI, wide its adjudication order on 26 June, imposed penalty for violation of the regulation which we discussed just now. Regulation 52.4 is the set of parameters which you have to certainly disclose when it comes to listed NCDs. On 52.5 is the certificate from your debenture trustee confirming that they have read the parameters as set out in 52.4, and they have understood the contents as disclosed by this listed entity. And 54.2 is the disclosure to stock exchange about the asset cover, which is your 100% asset cover maintenance. This company has violated all these set out regulations, and adjudicating officer was appointed under 15I. Last week we discussed section 15I. What is that? If there is going to be any loss to your investor, or if there is going to be any disproportionate gain that the listed entity derives by virtue of this particular non-reporting or violation of this particular provision, or if there is going to be repeated violation by the company, then 15I will squarely fall in place. In this company, there was a show cause notice issued. Reply was asked on 3rd December 2019. The reply was made by an authorized representative for violation of the set out regulations, and a personal hearing on 17th March was postponed because of COVID-19, and company secretary of this particular company appeared on 5th June 2020, and for observing the violations, SEBI, while the adjudication officer imposed a penalty of rupees 6 lakhs for violation under 15AB of SEBI Act. What is 15AB of SEBI Act? For failing to furnish any information or return or any document as prescribed by the board, which is your SEBI, there is a penalty of 1 lakh for every day during which the default continues, or 1 crore, whichever is higher. Up to 1 crore is the maximum ceiling, and in this case they have imposed a penalty of 6 lakhs. We will conclude with regulation 55, friends, which is your credit rating. Each rating obtained by the listed entity shall be reviewed at least once a year by the credit rating agency, which is your CARE, Fitch, ICRA. All those credit rating agencies shall review at least once a year. These CRAs are as registered with the board being SEBI for this purpose. So we are going to continue this part 1 in our next Wednesday webinar as well, friends, because we have started from regulation 49 and stopped with regulation 55 today. So there are few more obligations for NCDs and NCRPS concerned, which we will discuss in our next Wednesday webinar. Thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe.